Should we buy or sell interactive brokers? First off, read this disclaimer carefully. Then do your good deed of the day by liking and subscribing. In other themes, we have trading platforms. And we see that interactive brokers, it's 52-ish% from the lows, minus 4% away from the 52-week highs. So it is one of the best performing. Here is their website. A new way to trade the future. Lowest cost are transparent low commissions starting at 0 with some footnotes. Yeah. The best thing about interactive brokers is that you can trade worldwide. You have access to a lot of markets, and that's a huge benefit. Okay, so let's start with the charts. These are weekly data points. So the reason why this one popped up on my radar is that we are clearly at a key resistance level. When I see a chart like this, resistance, resistance, and resistance, it's very hard not to turn bearish. If we were to get a breakout, obviously the bearish thesis would go out the window. But this looks like a too easy short. It just does. This is an established fail level. And this week, the bears are showing some activity and the bulls are lacking in faith. So there are signs. On the dailies, you see here on Fridays that there was not panic, but just non-commitment. And you see that in the preceding days, bulls tried, but they are not able really to recruit new buyers above that resistance level. So sort of like the pattern is a bit too clear. Obviously, a breakout would falsify the bearish thesis, but it's just too clean. On the weekly RSI, we have seen substantially higher RSI levels way back in the past. So if we were to get a breakout, there could be some significant upside. Currently, we are, however, at an established fail level for the previous highs. Triple top, which is what we currently have as a setup, it's a well-established bearish pattern. On the daily data points, we are overbought on RSI and on some of the major PPOs. On the blue 100-day PPO, actually, we are pretty darn high, much more higher than we were back here. And also, when we look at the MACD, we have a very, very, very high level that we tested back here, and that was followed by a very substantial correction. I write triple top on interactive brokers, -5 to the bears. It is of course possible to get a breakout, but given the recent price action on especially the daily data points, we don't have any signs really that the bulls have a bunch of other bulls ready to just buy way higher up. Here is the seasonality. So over the last 5 years in green, 7 years in blue, and 10 years in red. We usually see some weakness into 11-ish of November. Then we see some strength. To the left here over the last 5 years. November is pretty strong though. December is more 50-50. The last 10 years, November is a month to respect. It is very strong. December is also not too bad. January closes higher 60% of the time, but on average there is a 4% loss. So January is a bit of a weird month. The last 16 years, November is the strongest month, December is pretty strong, January is a mess. I give the bulls a 7 on seasonality. This is pretty good. The only caveat here is maybe the November seasonality came early. Here is SAX. Number 1 strong buy. D value F growth B momentum. Industry rank top 26%. Investment bank. Dividend yield of an amazing 0.50%. Of course, sarcastically amazing. 33 billion in market cap. The insiders, they know a lot about. Yes, this is Peter Thomas. He has been selling and selling. Let me just have a bit of a quick look on Google whether he is leaving the company or not. Okay, let me do it like this then. On Bing, um, I mean he is 78 years. Yeah, yeah. I mean a 78-year-old entrepreneur selling his stocks. It's a bit of a different thing, I guess. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how to interpret his consistent selling of the stock. Okay. So let's look at the consensus estimates. 7 analysts are covering the stock. That's way fewer than I expected. That's very few. 20% upside on average expected. Projected. The highest is 58% above, and the lowest is 5.5% above us. I give the fundamentals a 4. There are bullish signs. Then again, it is pretty high. And while the Sachs had a number 1 strong buy, it didn't see that much value or growth. Here are some correlations. 83% long term with S&P 500, 82% with the XLF, the financial CTF, 87% with IAI, that is the brokers and dealers ETF, 41% positive with the 10-year yield. Daily data points, we have minus 6% with S&P 500, 14% with XLF, 52% with the brokers and the dealers ETF, and 63% positive with the 10-year yield. So the strongest correlation short and long term is with the brokers and the dealers ETF. Not super surprising, like that. Broker dealers and security exchanges ETF is the name. So here is the chart, been in a pretty clear uptrend, but with some substantial corrections throughout. So we are below the blue 100-week moving average, but this week we also closed above the green 50-week. So there is progress being made. The red 200-day moving average has defined the downtrend here, but we are now, significantly above it. So there is a breakout here. Looking at weekly RSI and PPL and also MACD, we are not overbought at all. On the dailies, there's still more left in the tank. Here is the relationship between interactive brokers and the ETF EIA, not EAI. We have a bit of a breakout-ish setup here, but also a situation similar to the interactive brokers stock, where we are not able to actually confirm the breakout. These last 2 weeks, we have seen pullback. In terms of RSI, we are feeling at a very high level, so a little bit too much too fast, potentially. Let's look at the seasonality. Yeah, so over the last 7 years in blue, 5 years in green, 10 years in red, we usually see interactive brokers underperform the ETF into mid-December. I will give a -3 here to the bears, specifically, for interactive brokers. We do have a triple top. That is the main event now. We do end up with a 0.8 to the bulls, however, so it's one of those quirky situations where the signal is different from the score. The seasonality is just very, very bullish. We are, however, at a very clear technical resistance level. Given the seasonality, if there's, we are still early in November, if the full board seasonality were to come to fruition, we would have a breakout, and then the technical bearishness would just completely go out the window. Whatever the case is, a big move is expected for interactive brokers, and that is the most interesting thing. We have some time left. Let's look at the components of the brokers, dealers, and security exchanges ETF. The first on the list is Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs, they do actually have a breakout now above this resistance level here. There is a cluster of resistance levels above us, but this is interesting for Goldman. Let's look at Morgan Stanley. I think it's MS. Yeah, so there is some bullish activity here, but very clear resistance from the green 50-week moving average, and we also have the blue 100-week moving average here. So in this case, progress, but there is resistance above us. And yeah, the blue 200-day moving average. In red, clear resistance for Morgan Stanley. Is she EHV? I think it's that. Yeah, there's a lot of tickers to remember. Charles Schwab, big breakout last week. So yeah, definitively making progress. Yeah, strongly above the 200 daily moving average. LPL Financial, oops, not the most well known. Oh, that's very strong. Let's look a bit at our RSI and PPO. We are pretty high though. We have been higher in the past, but looking at MACD, this is a very high reading. On the daily data points, yeah. If you have a position, then that's good, but I don't like to enter a new position or build a position when this has happened. I like to buy low and sell high. And next on the list is Raymond. A bunch of names that are not that well known. Raymond James Financial. Strong breakout, very much bullish. Let's look at RSI and the PPO. Yeah, still more potential left on the weekly RSI and PPO. On the dailies, yeah, we are approaching a territory here that is a bit dangerous short term, a place where quite a few people would consider taking profits. And some bears would look for opportunities. Here is a CBOE. Yeah, recently been able to break out above this resistance back here. New resistance levels here to clear. But yeah, overall this is bullish. Yeah, on Friday we do see a bit of that the bulls, they lost some faith up there. Nothing to really make a big deal about, but it's not like super bullish to see that. It's not bearish either, but it's a sign that CBOE needs a stronger catalyst to break out above these resistance levels back here. Next on the list is Nasdaq. It's not the Nasdaq, but Nasdaq, the ETF for the Nasdaq. No, I mean the stock for the Nasdaq. So this is a very messy thing, indeed. Here is Nasdaq. Yeah, a bit noisy. I do see a bit of a diagonal downtrend here. You can see that it intersects quite a few data points here. So something a bit bearish, not like super bearish, but clearly a resistance level. All in all, there is a clean setup for interactive brokers. It is primarily bearish, but then again, there were some data points here that suggests that we could get a breakout if that super seasonality for November comes into fruition. And we looked at some of the stocks within the EIA ETF, and some of them have seen a breakout. Others are in the process of breaking out. So there is some interesting activity here for this ETF. of these interactive brokers is the one that's really stuck at that resistance level. So you can go here and join up for the newsletter, and you can also get on the waiting list. I will remove the waiting list pretty soon because I'm changing around the content, so it's not as so that it becomes more scalable, which of course is beneficial.